Okay, so I just got off of work. I haven't had time to process anything. I've been reading through Twitter for the last hour when I should have been working. Um, so I'm just going to record off the cuff and try and cobble something together that makes some sort of sense. I'm talking about Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen died today. I had Twitter open when Wolfie, his son, posted a tweet with the news and a photo of Eddie. And I didn't get it at first. It took me a second, and then it clicked when I had to read it twice for me to understand what had happened. Eddie passed away after a battle with cancer, which we sort of knew he had. It seems so long ago now, but around this time last year, David Lee Roth announced his Las Vegas residency. And part of that announcement included him saying that he owned the legacy of Van Halen now. And he was doing his typical boisterous shtick. And he made an offhand comment that Eddie was sick, and he was very clear he wasn't going to say anything more than that because that was Eddie's story to tell, not Dave's.
This isn't going to be a Mambo Slammers type deal. This is a full-on rock show?
Oh, you bet it is, and I take it very seriously. I'm the face of Van Halen from this point on, most likely. I'm not sure what's happening with Ed, but probably not going to answer the bell this time, and it's not my place to guess.
Now, are you implying that Edward is in dealing with some health issues?
I hear all the same rumors that you do, and
Okay.
It's not my place to guess.
All right. We'll leave it at that.
In hindsight, and at the time, that was the exact correct approach for Dave to take. The Van Halens have been particularly private people in the last 15 years or so. So I'm not really surprised that there was no lead up or warning to this at all. It's just an announcement. So I don't have any insight. I don't have any news to break. I'm just a fan. I'm just someone who loves Van Halen all the way through. I love the Dave era. I love the Sammy era. I've seen them in concert. I've seen Sammy in concert solo. I've seen Dave in concert solo. I just love that music. And the only thing I can think to do is sort of walk through some memories that I have with Van Halen, because I suspect my memories are not much different than your memories or other fans' memories. Especially because they're all good memories, at least in my experience. So Van Halen was one of the first concerts I ever saw. I keep a concert log, or at least I try to. I'm not up to date with everything in this, but I got my ticket stub in here. I keep a little journal entry just for the memories, and one of my first entries is from April 28th, 2008. Now, I didn't write this immediately after the show. This is something I put together years later. But one of the first concerts I ever saw was the Van Halen reunion tour, which was 07-08 with David Lee Roth. My uncle bought tickets for us to go, and we were all set to go, but then they had to reschedule the Milwaukee date. I'm not sure why. I don't remember why, but they had to reschedule the date, and it was a date that my uncle couldn't go, so he just gave me the tickets, and I went with a very good friend of mine. And it was at the Old Bradley Center in Milwaukee, and I will just read what I have written here. This date was rescheduled from April 7th. Reunion tour with David Lee Roth. First tour with Roth since 1984. Van Halen was noticeably in top form. I remember my friend and I went, and we sat down in our seats, and right in front of us were these two girls who were a little bit older than us, and they were drunk as fuck, or at least one of them was. I mean, wasted. Van Halen came out, they started the show, and 2 songs in, those 2 girls went off to the bathroom, I think because one of them needed to throw up. And they didn't come back for the whole show, so I don't know if they just missed out or found different seats. But with them leaving, we had a clear path vision to the stage, and it made for a much better show. And I just remember it being so much fun. Roth. I talked about David Lee Roth earlier this year not sounding so great when I saw him in Vegas. But from what I remember, in 2008, he didn't sound bad. Or at least I wasn't paying enough attention to that to like get critical about it. I just remember it being a lot of fun and loving every song they played. And the standout memory, of course, is the end of the night where they're playing Jump, and Diamond Dave's swinging around this gigantic red flag on the stage. It was great. A couple years later, I was working at a pizza place, and I had a coworker who was a lot older than me, a guy named Lee. And Lee and I love to talk music with each other. I've always liked music from the era before me, and Lee was from that era. So he loved talking about the music of his youth, and he said Van Halen was without question his favorite band. So when we worked together, we'd always have Van Halen music playing. And at some point in 2012, Van Halen was supposed to play the Bradley Center again in Milwaukee. But for whatever reason, I guess they overbooked themselves. They canceled a huge stretch of dates, including the Milwaukee date. So we were both talking about how we were hoping to go to that show, but the dates were canceled really quickly after they had been announced. So we were bummed that they weren't going to come back. We didn't know what was going on with them. Well, not too much long after that, they announced a handful of dates for 2013. A date in California, a couple of dates in Japan, and then one date at Rock USA, which is a music festival in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Golden opportunity. And I remember talking to my buddy Lee, and I said, hey, we should go to this. Even though the thing is with this concert, this rock festival, is that it was one of those camping festivals. So you have to buy tickets for the whole weekend, and then people can camp out there. And I don't remember them being any like day passes. So the tickets we had to buy were good for all weekend. Well, we looked at the lineup. Neither one of us wanted to see any other band any other day except for Van Halen. And we kind of liked some of the openers for Van Halen. But the tickets was still like $180 or $200, like a lot of money, for me at the time at least, because I was working at a pizza place. And Lee was like, I never saw Van Halen. And I was just like, really? He was just like, yeah, he did. I guess the Sammy years didn't do much for him, and he just never took the chance when they were with Dave in the early '80s. And it was just like, well, dude, we gotta go. And he was just like, yeah, all right, let's do it. So we get the tickets, and the day arrives, and we drive up to Oshkosh, and we had a cooler full of beer, and our plan was to just tailgate in the parking lot and then go into the show and watch Van Halen. Well, as we're pulling into the parking lot, which cost like another $20 to park, of course, we pull in and we see a sign that says no tailgating allowed. And it was just like, oh, come on. We drove all this way, we brought all this beer, totally killing the buzz here. So what we did was we parked the car, we got our wristband, and we looked around for a little bit, and looked at some of the beer prices, and it was just like, screw this, we gotta, it's just two of us. So we ducked back out into the parking lot, go to my car, open the trunk, pull out the lawn chairs we brought, the camp chairs we brought, set those up, and cracked a couple of brews, and just sat by the back of my car drinking beers. Not like we weren't so early that we had hours and hours, but for like an hour or two, we were just hanging out back there. Nobody hassled us. And what was cool was from where we were sitting, we could see one of the video boards for the openers. One of the openers was Dokken, one of the openers was Jackal, and the other opener was Rat. So it was going to go, I think it was going to go Dokken, Jackal, and then Rat. I'm pretty sure that was the order. So this is what we did. We both liked Dokken, so we went in and we watched Dokken. Then we came back out because neither of us liked Jackal, and then we were going to come back in for some of Rat and then Van Halen. So Dokken was fun. We come back out, and we can see Jackal playing on the video board. Sorry, Jackal sucks. So we were kind of riffing on how lousy they were. And then Rat started up. And we were thinking we would skip Rat and just hang. But they played Wanted Man, and it was just like, okay, this isn't bad. Let's go on back in. So we go back in, we catch the end of Rat, and then we got our seats. We had paid for seats. So we're just waiting for Van Halen. Well, there was a bit of a break between Rat and Van Halen, and in between the sets, there were these girls who worked for, I believe, Jägermeister. In 2013 was the year that Fireball, that cinnamon liqueur, hit the market, and everybody was drinking Fireball. Now, I don't really like Fireball, but it was really popular that year, and I think Jägermeister had some sort of cinnamon version of Jaeger, and there were these girls walking around with free shots of cinnamon Jägermeister. And they walked past us. You want to try? Yeah, absolutely. Get that. Take a shot. Goes on to the next people. And a lot of people were saying no. And these girls kept walking. I think we got 3 shots back and forth because nobody else was really taking them. We were there early enough that it was like, sure, we can have these. So we take those shots, and that was it for me for drinking because I had to drive back. But Lee was able to keep going. So he went and bought beers for himself. And he comes back, he's got 2 beers right at the start of the show. And Van Halen comes out. Eddie looked great and was playing great. Could see Al back there. Wolfie was on stage. I remember I tweeted on my old Twitter account. I said, oh, look, Wolfie Van Halen just came on stage. ... Oh, wait, that's just a roadie. And I had tagged him in the tweet. And I guess he was on Twitter in that moment because, like, a second later, he liked the tweet. And I remember I got a kick out of that because that was, like, the first time a celebrity, liked something of mine on social media. So, that was fun. And the show gets started. It's just all hits, all of our favorites. I can tell my buddy Lee is having the time of his life. I'm loving it. We're having a great night. And I remember at one point, he was shredding on some solo. I don't remember which one. But at some point, his finger busts open. And blood starts dripping down his hand. And we can see it on the video board. And people all around are, like, pointing it out, like, oh my god, he's bleeding. He's playing so hard, he's bleeding. And it was just, like, a cool, like, rock and roll moment. I mean, like, he wasn't in pain, he was fine, but it was just like, this dude is crazy. It's awesome. And yeah, it was hits all night, and it was super fun. And as we're getting closer to the end of the show, my buddy Lee, who had been dancing to each of these songs, because this is the band of his childhood, was standing still as a stone, just staring. And I'm thinking, like, is he bummed out about something bothering him? But whatever, I'm still enjoying myself. I'm dancing to Panama and jumping all that. And he's just staring at the stage. And the show ends, and he just books it from his seat. And I just stay where I am and wait for him to come back. And he had run off to the bathroom. So I was just like, what the hell happened with you? I mean, were you all right? He was just like, and this is his voice. I'll do an impression. He was just like, I had to piss. I had to piss. I was trying to dance, but every time I would dance, every time I'd move, the piss would start to come. So I just had to stand still. And I'm tearing up. I was laughing so hard, and it's such a great memory. And it's a really great memory because it's a funny moment with an old friend of mine with his favorite band, and it's a bittersweet memory for me because since then Lee passed away a couple years ago, and I on my own personal Facebook page I posted some pictures from that night, and I said, I know my buddy Lee is going to be the first guy to greet Eddie at the pearly gates. Lee was a good friend, and I miss him. And I'm really glad I got to see Van Halen with him because music was really what our friendship was based on, at least at first. That's what we first got along about, and then we became real good friends when we worked together. So, yeah. When I hear Van Halen music, I think of that night. I think of my buddy Lee. And that's probably the most meaningful memory that comes to mind when I think of Van Halen. I've seen Sammy Hagar in concert twice. I saw David Lee Roth earlier this year. And the highlights of both of those shows are the stuff they did with Eddie. And, come to think of it, the last song I saw performed live in concert before everything got shut down because of the pandemic was Jump. David Lee Roth's last song of the night was Jump. And that's Eddie's signature moment. Arguably, I guess. There's almost every song in Van Halen's discography is a signature moment for that guy. There'll be plenty said about him in the coming weeks about what an insane level talent he was. To me, there's no debate. In my preferences, it's not Hendrix, it's not Clapton, it's certainly not Jimmy Page, it's not Keith Richards, it's not whoever you're going to throw at me. Not Satriani, not any of those shredders. The ultimate guitar hero, the guitar god, is Eddie Van Halen. No debate. No question. Always has been that for me. The only thing I always say after one of our icons of rock and roll passes away is that it's a point for us as fans to re-examine their discographies with fresh ears. This is a good opportunity to get out your Van Halen records, 1984, 5150, OU 812, Van Halen 1, 2, whatever ones these are the ones I got. What are the ones you have? Put them on your record player, and if you don't have a record player, look them up on YouTube. Listen to some of Eddie's stuff. Watch his videos. Those Van Halen videos? Those are some of the best videos of the MTV era. In Panama, when they're swinging back and forth on the wires, it's hilarious. Shredding and Jump. Obviously all the dancing and Hot for Teacher. Those are truly the iconic moments of MTV's heyday. And he had some good ones with Sammy Hagar, too. What's the one? Pound Cake. Pound Cake's got a great music video. I have this VHS. Van Halen was never really good at releasing live material, so I had to track down this Live Without a Net VHS. I'm going to be watching this tonight. This is their live performance from 1986 with Sammy Hagar. It was their first tour. One of my favorite video moments of Van Halen is them playing Best of Both Worlds, and Eddie, Mike Anthony, and Sammy all doing the 5150 walk on stage. I love that. I get a big kick out of that. So I'm going to definitely watch that tonight. You know, I just think of, like, it's not just records. Like, I got all kinds of stuff because of this guy, you know. I bought Sammy Hagar's book mostly because I wanted Eddie stories, you know. I've got Everybody Wants Some. I've got Running with the Devil. These are Van Halen books, you know, just because I want to know more about who this guy is. Eddie was the most interesting guy in that band. Sure, Sammy and Dave were more boisterous and they were frontmen and bigger personalities, but Eddie was the interesting one. Eddie's the one we wanted the story about. When I went to Vegas this year to see David Lee Roth, I brought these shoes. You know, I got these for Christmas, and they're all scuffed up now because I wore them all weekend in Vegas. I didn't have a lot of space in my carry-on, so these had to be my walking around shoes too, so it's too bad about that. I'll have to clean them. But, you know, it just wearing this, the stripes maybe fit in at the concert. And it was fun talking to some of the other fans there. I went to the show by myself. My friends aren't as big Van Halen fans as me, and one of them wasn't even out there that night. So it was just me. So I was just kind of shooting the breeze with the people around me, talking about how much we love Van Halen. You know, it was a David Lee Roth show, but everybody there was for Van Halen, not Dave's solo career. So I guess that's it. I'm going to be listening to the full Van Halen discography these next couple of days. I'm going to watch this VHS tape. I'm going to listen to their live albums. I have a bootleg of their appearance in Milwaukee from 2004. And I know that's one of the shows that, you know, Eddie was a mess at, but whatever. I think that's really the only thing you can do when one of our rock icons passes away. Listen to their music. Find your favorite moments from their catalog. Post that stuff. Send it to your friends. Get it on social media. Celebrate them. Celebrate that work. The only thing I can really say now is just condolences to Eddie's family, especially Wolfie. Wolf's a little younger than me, and I lost a parent at what I feel is a pretty young age. So I definitely have some empathy for him, and I hope he's doing all right. And I guess that's all I got. Put on his music. Remember him. Rest in peace.